President, please be seated. The chamber is back in session, and we will hear the testimony of witness to TCW 1060. And before we hear the testimony of the witness, the chamber issue an oral ruling regarding the request by Nunchia defense team regarding additional time for witness 1069 and 1070. And after we heard the testimony of Sun Eng, the chamber still maintain its position that the hearing of the testimony of 2 TCW 1070 will be only one day. And now we hear the testimony of 2 TCW 1060. Court officer, please usher the witness into the courtroom. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. What is your name? Witness. My name is Nguyen Trạch. Question. Nguyen Trạch or Teh Trạch? My name is Nguyen Trạch. President, thank you. What name do you use officially in your identity card or other official documents? Answer. I used Nguyen Trạch in my ID card. President, thank you. Besides the name Trạch, have you ever used other names? Answer. During the Pol Pot's regime, my name was Pre. Question. Was there any point in time that you used the name Ol? Answer. Ol was my official name that my grandfather gave to me. Question. Do you stop using that birth certificate? Answer. I stopped using it. My name Ol was used during the Songkum regime. Question. What about the family name Tis? Was it your father's name or your grandfather's name? Answer. It was my grandfather's name. Question. What about Nguyen? Whose name was it? Answer. Nguyen was my father. President, thank you. Mr. Nguyen Trạch, when were you born? Answer. No, I cannot recall it. Question, how old are you this year? Answer, I am 63 years old. President, thank you. Where were you born? Answer, I was born in Trapeang Chuk village, So Chai sub-district, Steng Trong district. Question, what about your current address? Answer, I live in the same location, that is Trapeang Chuk village, Steng Trong district. Where is Steng Trong district located? I mean the province. Answer, it is in Kampong Cham province. President, thank you. What is your father's name and what is your mother's name and what were their occupation? Answer, my father's name was Nuon, my mother's name was Im. Question, what about your wife's name and how many children do you have? Answer, my wife's name Sok Liep. We had 3 children, Sok Main, Sok Khi and Srai On. Question, Mr. Trek, to your knowledge, are you related to the 2 accused, that is Nuon Chi or Khieu Sampon, or to any other parties who are accepted as civil parties in this case? Answer, no, I'm not related to any one of them. President, thank you. Have you already taken an oath before the Iron Club statue before you come into this courtroom? Answer, yes, I took an oath already. President, now we would like to inform you of your right and obligation as a witness in this courtroom. Mr. Trek, as a witness in the proceeding before the chamber, you may refuse to respond to any question or to make any comment which may incriminate you. That is your right against self-incrimination. Your obligations. As a witness in the proceedings before the chamber, you must respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comment to those questions may incriminate you, as the chamber has just informed you of your right as a witness. You must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, or experienced, or observed directly about an event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or parties pose to you. Have you ever provided testimonies or interviews with investigators from the OCIJ office? Answer, yes, there were people going to interview me at my home. They came from the Khmer Tribunal. President, thank you. How many times did you provide the interview? Answer, they went to interview me at my homes twice. President, you were interviewed twice. So, where the interview came from? Whether they came from this tribunal or whether they came from other institutions? Answer, they were from the Khmer Tribunal. They went all the way to interview me at my home. President, thank you. Before you came to testify here, have you already reviewed the statement that you provided to the interview was in order to refresh your recollection. Answer: yes, I can recall some of the statements, but not others, because the interviews took place long time ago. I cannot recall them all. President: based on your ability of or your memory, can you tell the court whether the statements that you provided to the interview and the statement that was written for you to review, were they consistent with each other? Answer: I will provide my answers according to the answers I provided to the interviewers at my home, but as I told you, I cannot recall them all. President: in the putting questioning to this witness, the chamber provide the floor to the Ninjure defense team to put question to this witness before other parties. The two defense team have two combined sessions to put questions to the witness. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. I will be asking you some questions today until 4 o'clock and presumably Wednesday morning. Before I ask my questions, you just confirmed that you talked to interviewers or interrogators of this court. Did you also speak a few years before that to interviewers of an organization called DC Cam?
Answer: yes, I provided an interview. They went to interview me at my home.
I'll be referring both to your WRI and your DC Cam interview later, Mr. Witness. First of all, can you tell the court what you did before the liberation of Phnom Penh on 17 April 1975? Where were you? What kind of work did you do?
Before the liberation in 1975, I worked at a hospital of the general staff of the zone. That was the place called 304.
When did you start working as a medic for the 304 hospital? Do you remember when that was?
I worked as a medic in Battalion 314. At that time, the Khmer Rouge liberated Phnom Penh in 1975. And in 1976, I was transferred to the medic in Battalion 314. I was responsible for treating soldiers.
Before 17 April 75, when you were working as a medic, were you trained to become a medic when you lived in Chamkarlu district?
At that time, I was in Chamkarlu. I worked at the district hospital. I cured civilians at Chamkarlu district. And then in 1975, I was transferred to the Zone General Staff Hospital. And then when Phnom Penh was liberated, I was transferred to K99, the currently Ketok Mili Hospital. And then after that, I was transferred to a military hospital in Battalion 314 of Division 310.
That you received in Chamkalu before 75. What kind of medical training did you have?
I did not receive any special training. When I entered the service, I received on the job training. It's like practical training of the techniques used.
You said that you were involved in treatment of civilians. Did you also treat soldiers who had been wounded during combat? Soldiers fighting the Lon Nol army before 1975?
Before 1975, I did not treat them. Because before 1975, I was also a soldier. In 1973, I was recruited to be a combatant, and I was sent to receive a study session. And they would ask us a question if we were a part of the front battlefield or the rear battlefield, and the correct answer would be we belong to the front battlefield.
And when you became a soldier, what was the name or the number of your division? In which division in the former North Zone were you working?
When I joined the army, I was the sectors, rather I was the zone military, but I could not recall my regiment. I was quite young at that time. I joined the army when I was 15 years old.
When you were a combatant before 1975, was Un always the highest commander of your regiment or division that you were working in?
Un was the commander of Division 310. And Wun was his deputy.
But was Un always your commander, also before Division 310 got its specific number 310? The moment that you became a combatant, Un was always your highest commander, correct?
I was transferred to Battalion 314, and it was at that time that I was under him. But before that, I was not. Before Phnom Penh was liberated, I was a medic, and when Phnom Penh was liberated, I was transferred to be a medic in the battalion.
All right, then let's move to the period after 17 April 75. At one point in time, you started working for the General Staff Hospital. You mentioned the name, excuse me, how is it called today already? Priya Ketmelia Hospital. When you started working at that hospital, was it known to you at the time as the P99 hospital?
Yes. At that time, it was referred to as P99.
And was it the hospital that belonged to Division 310?
Yes, the hospital was under the authority of Division 310, and the name of the commander of the division was Un.
Do you know whether the hospital P99 was also at one point, maybe a bit earlier, referred to as hospital P97 or maybe even P98 before it ultimately became P99?
Before that, it was called P49, and later on it was changed to P99.
Can you describe your work at the P99 hospital? What kind of work did you do when you were there?
At that time, I was responsible for treating wounded soldiers, because at the time that the Tribunal regime fell, there were many wounded soldiers, and I also cure people with malaria.
If my understanding is correct, you worked approximately a year in the P99 hospital, or at least that's what you said in your WRI E3/7877, English ERN 003-46978, Khmer 00342436, French 00411-784. Did you work a year all the way up until your arrest, the arrest that I will be speaking about shortly? In other words, were you a year at P99 until the moment that you were arrested?
I worked there for nearly 1 year, and then I was transferred to be a medic at Battalion 314, and it was at that place that I was arrested. I was accused because at that time in the North Zone, they accused that soldiers or members of Division 310 were traitors. So I was accused of being a traitor, just like other members of the division. But at that time I was still young. I did not know the meaning of traitorous or not.
I understand. Maybe it was a bit unclear to me, but in your WRI, that same page that I just referred to, you said the following, and let me repeat your answer. Question: how long did you work for the P99 hospital? I worked for the hospital for approximately a year. I worked there until 1977. Later on I was reshuffled to Battalion 314, the logistics section of Division 310. I based at the place next to the tool cork antenna. End of quote. I understood this answer that when you moved to Battalion 314, you went to the logistics division section of Division 310. Is that a misunderstanding? Did you continue to work as a medic also while at Battalion 314?
President, Mr. Witness, please hold on. The floor is given to International Deputy Co-Prosecutor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just in the interview that I have, E37877, it says that he worked at the P99 hospital for approximately a year until 1976, not 1977. So there's some sort of discrepancy here.
I have 76 as well.
Okay.
I thought I said 76,
no,
but
you said 77.
I apologize. 76. Ms. Witness, Battalion 314, the logistics section. Were you also working as a medic at the logistics section of Division 310?
When I was transferred to Battalion 314, I was still working as a medic.
And can you explain why the logistics section of Division 310 was in need of a medic?
Division 310 Logistic lack medics. That is why medics from P or PO 99 were sent from regiment through Regiment 314 to Division 310 Logistic Unit.
Can you tell, do you remember how many weeks or months you were at Battalion 314, the logistics section, when you were arrested? How long had you been already at Battalion 314 and the moment that you were arrested?
I was there for almost a year. Later on, in 1977, leaders were arrested, and I was called for the arrest as well.
Let me ask it differently. How long had you been at Battalion 314 when Division Commander Un was arrested?
I worked there for 1 year. Then I heard that Division 310 betrayed and wanted to attack Phnom Penh. Members of Division 310, leaders of Divisions 310, and also leaders and members of companies and platoons were arrested from time to time.
Right. Let me ask you some questions now about various locations. The P99 hospital is what is now known as the Priya Ket Malia Hospital. Do you know where exactly that P99 hospital is located? For instance, in respect of or in relation to Wat Phnom, the Calmet Hospital, or what you just referred to as the Tool Cork antenna. Can you describe its location?
It is my understanding that the actual location of P99 was at Bracket Amelia Hospital.
I understand. Is it correct that that was very close to Wat Phnom and very close to the division headquarters?
Yes, you're right. It is close to Wat Phnom. It was close to Wat Phnom, and the head of Division 310 was stationed at a location close to Wat Srachaw or Srachaw's Pagoda. It was close to the hospital.
Was it also close to what is still known as Calmet Hospital?
It was close. That hospital was close to Wat Phnom. It was adjacent to Wat Phnom.
Generally speaking, the surroundings of Calmet Hospital, Priya Ket Malia Hospital, Wat Phnom, was this the area that contained the division headquarters, Division 310 headquarters?
Back then, Calamite Hospital was a the hospital for children, pediatric, and P99 was used for soldiers.
But the general area where Division 310 was stationed, was that close to places like Wat Phnom, the Calmet Hospital? Was that the home base for Division 310?
It was clearly divided, but they were within they are under Division 310. For Calamite Hospital, it was back then a pediatrics hospital.
Well, let me be concrete, Mr. Witness. I'll be referring a bit later to a meeting that you attended at a school located next to Wat Phnom. A meeting where cadres and combatants from Division 310 attended. Can you explain where that school exactly was?
It was to the north of Wat Phnom. It was close to Wat Phnom. It was after the division commander was arrested that I learned about that. I was called in a meeting that my division had betrayed, and he was arrested. I was told that comrades all of your divisional commander was arrested because he betrayed. It was on that occasion that I was told about his betrayal.
I'll come back to that location of the school. One final location. You said just now that you became a member of the Battalion 314, the logistics section of Division 310, and in your WRI you said that that was situated next or close to Tool Cork Antenna. What was Tool Cork Antenna and where exactly was that?
I was on mobile at the time. I was removed to Battalion 3110 and I was also assigned to farm at Bang Prayap, Tul Songkai. I was given a bicycle to go around and treat people.
How far was Tool Cork Antenna from Wat Phnom?
I do not know how many kilometers.
Do you know how long it took you with a motorbike from Wat Phnom to Tool Cork Antenna?
I did not own a motorbike, so I did not know how many kilometers they were apart.
When you say Tool Cork Antenna, do you mean the radio station?
The TV antenna or Tool Cork antenna was known since the time of the Sihanouk's king. I learned the name from others. I heard people made mention about TV antenna or Tool Cork antenna, and I said so.
When you were in the logistics section, quote unquote, based at the place next to the Tool Cork antenna, are you saying that you were in fact next to the radio and TV station of Phnom Penh?
I was stationed close to that station.
And who was in charge of that radio and TV station? Was that also Division 310 or were these other forces?
That TV station was not operated by anyone, but it was within the compound of Division 310.
The TV station wasn't operating, but was the radio station operating?
President, please hold on, Mr. Winner. You may now proceed, Deputy Co-Prosecutor.
Thank you, Mr. President. The counsel continues to try to lead the witness here. The witness has indicated he understood it was a TV antenna. No one has ever said anything about a radio station at this location. I think I know why he's trying to lead the witness this way, but it's simply incorrect. And if he has information to confront the witness with, that's one thing. That's fine.
I'm happy to ask it again and very specifically. Mr. Witness, you spoke about a TV antenna at Tulkork, where your logistics battalion was situated. Do you know whether there was also a radio antenna? And if yes, do you know whether it was used?
In fact, that TV antenna housed female garment workers.
So it wasn't a radio antenna, is that correct? The radio Phnom Penh was somewhere else?
It was in a different location, which I do not know. President, the radio station or antenna, that is the word used in Khmer, and do you know where it is? Answer. The radio station was posted at Stung Mien Jay. I myself did not have time to go there.
Mr. Witness, now let me, before I move to your arrest, let's talk about a meeting that you describe in your WRI. A meeting that was held in the school located next to Wat Phnom that we just discussed. Can you describe what you heard at this particular meeting in relation to the arrest of your division commander, Un?
Comrades were allowed to go to a meeting on that day. The comrades were from Battalion 314 and also from other regiments. There was an announcement that comrades, please do not feel any surprised. Your leaders or commanders betrayed. So please remain calm and do not have any shooting or fire against one another.
And how many people were present? Do you remember?
I did not recall how many were in the meeting. I was sitting to the back. I could not see clearly. I was quite young at the time, and those who were older than me were allowed to sit in the front rows. At that time, I was around 18 or 19 years old.
And do you remember hearing a tape being played?
The divisional head of the Southwest 502 was arrested, and Eun's voice was played over the loudspeaker, and I heard the voice of Eun from the tape. I was sitting and listening to his statement made at the time, but since that time until now, I cannot recall all of it.
Do you remember whether the name Koi Toon was also mentioned at this meeting.
Yes, it was mentioned. But I was not so interested in the name. I was so scared at the time after having heard that my head was arrested. I was not so interested in the name.
Do you recall what it was that Koi Toon and Un and others had done? Were there any details being given during this meeting?
I may have heard, but I do not recall about that.
I might return to that subject, but let me now turn to your own arrest. Were you arrested after this meeting at the school where you heard the tape, or was it before? Do you remember?
Bà kia ơi từ cái lạnh.
We were told to go back to our respective offices and units. I returned to my unit, and leaders were arrested subsequently and from time to time. We were told that they were reassigned to work in other locations. I, at the time, thought that my head was transferred to elsewhere, but later on, clerks were arrested. I was also invited to an office, the prison's office, and it was all. I did not realize that I was sent to prison, but I was told that I would be sent to the international section to treat people.
Am I to understand your answer that you were brought to this prison office after the meeting that, during which the tape was played? And if yes, do you remember how long it was after that meeting?
It was half a month. They did not allow me to know about their plan. I, at first, did not know about that. I thought my head was reassigned to another location. I myself did not realize that I was arrested. I thought that I was reassigned to another location.
Let me go to your WRI to see if I can have you start a bit. E3/7877, Mr. President, English ERN 00346979, Khmer 00342437, and French 00411785. This is what you said, and from subsequently I would like you to continue. You said, I was also arrested. Bang Nim, the Unity deputy, told me that there was a telephone call from Phnom Penh requiring me to be reshuffled to Phnom Penh. At that time, I lived at Anglong Kan Ngang, an American 404 SUV with covered roof, but no number plate came to pick us up. They did not tie me when I was on the vehicle. When the vehicle stopped at Bung Srayap to pick another 2 men. End of quote. Is that something that you recall saying to the investigators?
ពេលហ្នឹងខ្ញុំមកហ្នឹង
I was called and put on a vehicle. I was then placed in a location where I was left idle. I did not realize that it was a prison. I was put under surveillance at the time. I was put under investigation. I was there for 2 or 3 days. Then my chairman came to take me to my previous workplace. It was on that time, it was on that day that I realized it was a prison. My chairman requested me to go back, requested to have me return to my workplace for refashioning. It was on that day, as I said, I realized I was to be put in the prison because of my mistakes.
Let us take it step by step. You were in the car, you arrived at a prison office. First of all, do you remember whether photos of you were taken and whether you were required to make a biography?
គេបានថតឲ្យ
They made my brief biography, and I was. They took photo of me at the time, and I thought that the photo would be included in my biography.
Can you describe the road that you took from the moment that you were arrested and the moment that you were in this office where you were required to make your biography and your photo was taken? Can you describe the route?
I did not have a clear memory. I do not have a clear memory. I was put in a American-made 4-wheel drive truck. I was put on that truck and I sat face back.
Was it in Phnom Penh?
It was within Phnom Penh. I could not see because it was fully covered. The truck was fully covered, the American-made truck.
In your WRI, you said that while you were there at this place, that your unit chief Bang Yit arrived and that he whispered to you, do you know that this place is a prison office? As soon as they are done with your biography, you will be taken away. End of quote. Do you remember saying this?
I recall that the place was the prison. Then my chairman asked to have me back for refashioning. Later on, my chairman was arrested and I was accused of having links to the enemy network. So I was transferred to do manual work at Kampong Chnang airfield.
In your DC camp statement, E3/7537, English ERN 00251253, Khmer 00019646, and French 002911003, you said that you were captured and sent to quote-unquote Tuol Sleng prison office. What made you say that you were at the Tuol Sleng prison office?
At first, I did not know that it was a prison compound. Later on, I learned that those who were brought away by all were sent to the prisons in all was part of the prison unit. All was the one who detained a person at the location and put other to shackles and chains.
But I don't understand why you said it was the Tuol Sleng prison office. Why not another prison office, maybe belonging to the division?
After people were placed at that prison in charge by all, those people would be further sent to Tuol Sleng.
Maybe one final question, Mr. President, if you allow me. Mr. Witness, did you ever visit the Tuol Sleng Museum after 1979? And if yes, does this building or the surroundings of this building somehow remind you of the prison office that you were in 1977?
No, I did not have time. I did not come to Phnom Penh after 1979. After that year, I went back to reside in my birth village. It is now time for the adjournment. The chamber will resume its hearing on Tuesday, 6 December 2016 at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, the chamber will continue hearing the testimony to TCW 920 via video link, and there is a reserve witness, Mr. Brecht. Thank you very much, Mr. Brecht. Thank you for coming to testify as a witness. You are still invited to come and testify tomorrow as a reserve witness. Court officer, please work with the West Sioux unit to send this witness back to the place where he is staying at the moment. And please bring him back to the ECCC tomorrow as a reserve witness. Security personnel are instructed to bring the two accused, Nuon Jin Kisampon, back to the ECCC detention facility and have them returned into the courtroom before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.